Let's talk about something that I failed at, and it is setting boundaries, okay? Now, I love to talk about myself because I did not learn boundaries until later on in my stand. This is going to be hard, especially for those who are like still in the infatuation stage of they want their man back and the in love part. This is going to be very hard for you, but it's going to be very necessary for you to listen to this video, because I was in that whole stage of I want my man, I love him, I'm going to keep loving him, no matter what he says, no matter what he does, I'm going to keep giving myself to him and loving him. Listen, sis, you're going to have to pull back, okay? There's nothing wrong with loving your husband, but if they are actively in their rebellion and living with another woman, then you need to have boundaries, okay? When I tell women this in the beginning, they don't want to do it because sometimes you could be on good terms with your spouse, and it's like you don't want to set boundaries because it's going to basically push y'all backwards. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing. Just like how the Bible talks about how we cannot have God and the world, it's the same way when it comes to their rebellion. They cannot have the access to you and disrespect you and be with another woman and, don't do the right thing with the covenant or even disrespect the relationship. They can't have both, okay? And this was something very hard for me to really take into consideration because at one point we were okay, but there were certain parts of my spouse that was destroying my peace, that was destroying and breaking my heart. And this is when God began to teach me and tell me, you have to set boundaries. You have to guard your heart because I'm still working on them and they are actively rebelling against what God wants and just God, period, okay? Setting boundaries has literally been such a blessing for me, to be honest with you, because it basically teaches people how to treat you. It basically teaches people how to honor you. Now, I want to really say that whenever you place boundaries for a person who does not like to take accountability, they are going to act like you never set boundaries, okay? They are literally going to hear it and still try to operate in the same way, okay? But when you set the boundaries and you actually stand on it, you put them in position to where they have no choice but to respect you, all right? Because if you don't have boundaries, they're not going to learn how to respect you. They're not going to learn how to value you. And this was a hard lesson for me, okay? And I know it's going to be hard for other people, but you're going to have to literally set boundaries to protect your peace, okay? So setting boundaries doesn't mean that you're going to stop loving them. It literally means that you're going to love with wisdom. So that means that there's certain conversations that you're not going to tolerate. There's certain questions that you're not going to ask. There's certain things that you're not going to do as if he was in right standing with God. You see what I'm saying? So like you have to be very cautious and very discerning on how much of yourself that you give to this person and the access, because once people start operating from their trauma and their rebellion, they are only thinking about themselves. They are not thinking about how their actions are affecting you, and you have to keep that into consideration. This is going to be very hard because sometimes it is where you guys are on talking terms and you guys are at peace. And I want y'all to understand that God is a God of peace. He said it in his word, basically to work to maintain peace if possible. So if God has created peace with y'all, that's cool, but you still have to what? Have boundaries, okay? Now, let's talk about if they are actively disrupting the covenant, if they have moved out and, they're taking the other woman out and things of that nature, and it's still bothering you, this is where you need to have your boundaries, okay? And they're not taking your feelings into consideration. Yes, you're standing, but you are not a doormat, okay? And if your husband is a man who does not like to take accountability, I've seen this, they are not going to pay attention to your boundaries until you actually reinforce them. So you have to stand on it. So if you feel like you need to limit conversation because you need to heal and they have made a decision to leave your life, then you're going to have to say, hey, I don't want to be rude, but I feel like we're in a space right now where we need to limit our conversations. You have made some choices that, you have made, and I need time for myself, okay? Now, sometimes if they have these rebellious tendencies, they're going to deflect and put it back on you and put the blame on you. This is not where you're going to argue with them. You're just going to say, okay? Because they want control. They want access. They do not like being told no, okay? They don't like accountability. So with you setting boundaries, it literally moves you out the way. And that is when God can actually step in and see and cause them to see their error in their actions, because you are no longer an escape for them not to suffer their consequences. A lot of times, husbands still want to have access to the wife because you don't want to face the fact that you left and now you have to deal with your consequences. And you don't want to, so they want to hold on to the wife and still do what they want to do. No, you have to set boundaries, because if you're always in the way and you're always the one that they call on when they need something, they are never going to change. You have to move out of the way so that God can, so that they might have to fall flat on their face, right? So that God can step in, because you are valuable. I've been seeing this a lot lately. I used to think that being kind to a person and giving so much to a person and showing a person will cause them to value you, when I have learned that people know your value when they no longer have access to you. That is when they know your value, okay? I used to think giving so much of myself will cause a person to love me, when I had to learn that giving, if a person does not already appreciate the little bit that you're giving to them, giving them more is not going to make them appreciate it, because they already don't appreciate the little bit that you're giving. And this was a lesson that God had to teach me. So I was being obedient to God, but there was always that extra overflow of love that I was trying to do. Like, I was trying to love with the intent for him to love me back. And he wasn't in that space. And God was telling me, like, just do what I tell you to do, and guard your heart. And it's hurtful, but this is going to teach him your value. This is going to teach him that he can't treat you all kind of way and still be blessed, because you are the faithful. All right, so let's go over some action steps on what the setting boundaries look like. Number one, especially for us women, emotional boundaries. Guard your heart. Do not tell this man how much you love him. Don't do all of that. Guard your heart. Have emotional boundaries, because when the devil got a hold of them, they're looking for an emotional response to gain control over you. Okay, and if you give them that control, they feel like they can say or do whatever to basically disrupt your faith and justify why they're doing what they're doing. Number two, clear communication limits. You do not have to tolerate if he's disrespecting you or saying things or deflecting. You do not have to sit up there and try to explain yourself, because he's not submitted to God, so he's not going to listen to spiritual truth. So you got to have these communication limits to know how far you're going to allow this to happen. There are certain questions you don't ask, and there are certain questions and conversations you don't have to have with him. Don't overextend yourself physically or emotionally. So in this area, you want to be led in all of your actions, all right? All of your actions, you want to be led by the Lord. Do not try to do anything off of your own understanding, because you're dealing with someone who's in rebellion. And last but not least, you are not God. Let the Lord teach him through your boundaries. When you move out the way, God himself will step in and do the work that really needs to be done, okay? I pray that this video has blessed you. I love y'all, and I'll see you in the next video.